Hello there, and welcome to the Quantum Dragon podcast. My name is Brian Siegelwax, and I am both the second least qualified person in quantum and the first least qualified person in podcasting. My guest this episode is the uncle of the Quantum Dragon, Sergio Gago. Welcome to the show, Captain.
Hi, Brian. Thank you very much for having me here. It's almost like this joke of a dragon and a pirate walk into a bar, and then entanglement happens or something like that.
I did that one, but we had the camel with us. We had Dr.
Oh, we need
Sutor's
a
camel
camel.
with us. That was a good one,
There
yeah.
you go. That was a beautiful one.
Yeah, well, they're all my favorites. I love all my dragons. They're like little kids. They're all your nephews. Yeah, they're all your nephews.
But I'll
So
still will contest your claim on being the second least qualified person in quantum. I think you definitely have a lot to say, and what you say in your newsletter and in your social media is greatly appreciated by the community. So that's my kind words for you.
well, I can still claim to be the least qualified person in podcasting. I'm pretty sure I've got that down pretty good, pretty bad. I have to think about the grammar there for a moment. Least, yeah, I have to be the least qualified. I spare every expense. It's the opposite of Jurassic Park. I spared every expense, the software, the microphones. Uh, it's all bare bones. It's all about the content, really. What's being said that's atypical. I could ask you serious questions, but nah, there's no fun in that. But speaking of questions, so where was I?
Let's go for it.
So the Quantum Dragon newsletter was born from a recommendation to start a newsletter and my personal desire to not compete with quantum pirates. So before I ask about the newsletter itself, and with the disclaimer that I don't remember why I went with a dragon theme, why did you go with a pirate theme?
Right. So maybe it's almost going back to the memory lane on how all this started. I was deep into my quantum journey, and I think the Quantum Pirates newsletter is over 3 years old or 4 years old now. It's been consistently week over week, every single Monday. Sometimes I tested on Sundays, sometimes I tested on Saturdays, but then I landed on Monday mornings. For me, it was my selfish way of curating all the noise that was happening about quantum, whether it was news, hype news, papers, company announcements, and so on. So it was basically for me to mark the things that I thought were the signal from the noise. And then on Sundays, I spend a little bit of time curating that, deduplicating it, and trying to make some sense out of that. Whether it was from the research side, okay, how many papers have been published and which ones are truly something that moved the needle or something, what company news are very relevant for the industry, or what company claims are not necessarily what they claim to do, and so on. So I landed in this kind of format of curating the news and then created my snarky remarks or my own personal opinions, this couple of paragraphs or so that I typically put at the beginning of the newsletter. But again, the target was myself. It was my own way of self-reflecting on an industry that is small, but where a lot of things happening continuously and very, very fast. And well, as it happened, it started growing, right? So when I had to think about the name, I always had my past is in technology leadership. So I'm an engineer. I'm one of these quantum people that don't come from physics or mathematics. I'm a software engineer, and I've been taking chief technical officer positions for many, many years. And for a long time, I was as an advisor and business angel and interim CTO and these type of roles. I built the brand of the Pirate CTO, and that's what I have on my company website on thepiratecto.com and how I represent myself. That's my anchor on X. It's kind of my motto. I always thought that the way I like to do business and run things is kind of unconventional. The opposite of corporate, if you will, is kind of making things happen and really go there and venture into new lands and whatnot. Not necessarily doing illegal things, or at least I won't say that publicly on a podcast. But I went with the Pirate CTO, so it went natural for the newsletter that I kept going on the pirate newsletter and sort of your weekly boat that takes all this collection of news on an otherwise esoteric field where everyone has heard the word quantum quite a few times, but um, there's not that many of us truly doing something remarkable in the industry.
Kind of answered the second question I had, but what's really funny is I think you said curating the news, but I misheard you initially, and I thought you said curating the noise. And I thought, wow, we're talking about quantum. That's brilliant. That curating the noise, even though I misheard you, I need I put that in all capitals in my notes here. That's gonna be something.
Yeah,
Curating the noise.
I may have said both things, right? Because the goal was to get the signal from the noise.
Ah,
And I mean, I'm sure many of the listeners would agree that um, the same milestone, achievement, breakthrough, a paper that does something amazing that a group of researchers have created or discovered from that paper on Nature, or the archive, or whatever, or a poster presentation in a conference, all the way to what gets published on a general media article. There are worlds of difference, right? Uh, but by noise, I think it is very important in the industry to be true with what is possible. It's okay to dream into the future, and that is why we're doing this, right? Obviously, I think we're all doing quantum because we think it's going to change the world, but we don't have to create unnecessarily claims that are either false or that are not based on anything real. So yeah, there's a lot of noise correction, unintended, on the newsletter as well, which led me to sort of think what is going to be my I don't know editorial position in quantum. Will I lean towards the hype and towards the more abstract and esoteric elements, or will I be the deep scientist, faithful to the truth and only to the truth? And I don't think either of those positions is beneficial for the industry, right? If you are the skeptical, uh, super deep scientist that will not believe anything unless there is absolute proof on the claims and so on, which, by the way, we need that behavior in the industry. But if you go fully on that, the industry, whether it's investment, public funding, or getting the interest from the general public, will simply not come. So you need a mix of convincing the masses. And for that, sometimes you have to make claims about multiverses and about exponential speed ups and whatnot, but without falling into the bullshit territory, if that makes sense.
yeah. I'm glad I thought my ears malfunctioned because I had not planned to ask you about that at all. So glad glad I thought I had a malfunction there. I might still need to see a doctor, but yeah, that's probably a given anyway. So when you create a new text post on Substack, for everybody who hasn't done that before, there's a quick way to add a subscription form with a default caption And one of your edits of that caption caught my eye one day, and I was curious how long you'd been doing that with me somehow not noticing. And that's when I discovered that you changed that subscribe now text every week. So have you been doing that since the beginning? And what was the motivation behind this subtle personalization?
I hope the answer doesn't demotivate this, but the reason was on Substack, they always encourage you to put a subscribe button so that in principle increases your subscribers, right, who may reach your page through, I don't know, SEO or some other means, and then that gives people an opportunity to subscribe. So you can add the button, and the default text is so dull, is so default that sucks big time. Um, so I don't know how or when I started changing that. I don't think it was since the very beginning, but then because it was so dull, I wanted to do something, and then I never remembered what I put on the previous one. So I thought, well, why don't you just write whatever comes to mind? That is anything from funny all the way to a dad joke, or ideally that is somehow related to the news that popped up that week, right? So I don't know. A few weeks ago, when Microsoft, or a couple of months ago already, yeah, when Microsoft announced that the Majorana one, right? It's like, okay, subscribe to get a Majorana in your house or whatever, uh, um, whatever thing. But it all goes with the personalization on who are you, and I think you do a great job at the Quantum Dragon as well. Um, what I've heard from readers is that it's not just the curation and the list of articles that I put in there, because that's something that anyone can do. It's about the personality that both of us add into our different newsletters, right? So when someone is reading that, when one reader told me it's almost like talking to you in real life, and then you meet people in conferences and so on. I was like, oh, it's a fucking quantum pirate uh, newsletter. So you're faithful to yourself and to your.
I think my internet connection briefly dropped out there, but I think I just missed
That's what you get
the
for
end
being
of the
on the beach.
sentence. Yeah, that's what I have for having a LAN cable with a piece broken off so it doesn't stick into my laptop properly. Oh well. I'll have to check the recording, see what we got. But it's a shame that people might miss that because I missed it for how many weeks, months, however long I've been a subscriber. And there was just one that I forget what it was, just somehow caught my attention. I'm like, does it always say that? Because mine doesn't say that. So then I went back to look. I'm like, how have I missed this? I don't know the subscribe now button. I'm already subscribed, so I guess I'm just, scrolling past that. But it's kind of like the
Yeah,
opening of The Simpsons, where, it's kind of boring. Bart's writing on the board, but it changes every time. So uh hopefully people will stop and actually look at what you've put
wait,
and
what?
appreciate how hard that is every single week to think of a new line. It's definitely not easy.
I'll
And
keep doing
speaking
that.
of and speaking of Substack, I use Substack because you use Substack, which begs the question, why do we use Substack?
Right. So I think back then when I started that, as I mentioned, it was for me. I did it for me. Not I was not trying to build an audience. I was not trying to build a business. I was not trying to do anything like that. Um, so I tried to go to the easiest solution possible that was out there. There were some alternatives. I could have used MailChimp. I could have used other systems that were paid or free. Um, but then a lot of newsletters were starting to pop up on Substack, and then obviously there are other competitors and whatnot. But the reality is that it's incredibly easy to just go in, put on your thoughts, and hit send, and don't have to worry about your subscribers, hitting spam, unsubscribe people, the buttons and the text and all that. So it's really, really easy, and it helps me focus just on the content itself. Now, a few months after starting, uh, what I did was like a good engineer, I like to think, I tried to automate everything or make things as efficient as possible. So in the early days, this was before AI. Um, in the early days, I did a full automation pipeline. So my process is during the week, I may read a paper, I may read an article from a publisher or anything anywhere, a tweet or something on LinkedIn. I have a little button on my Chrome that sends a given article to a sort of list automatically. And then that button extracts the title, the key image from that article, the gist of that conversation, and it keeps a list of all the different articles. So effectively, I have a spreadsheet with every single link that I've posted in the Quantum Pirates newsletter since the very beginning. It has thousands of entries. Maybe one day I could make that one public. Who knows? Um, and then what I do on Sundays is another process automatically takes all that, goes to the website, extracts the content, and prepares it for me in a neat way. So I just have to go, yeah, all good, all good, all good, all good. Yes, summary, or maybe this image is not good. I'll take this other one. I'll change the link. I'll change this or that. And then the only thing I need to do is effectively review that makes sense and create my own homegrown summary and title and all that, which is sort of my signature thing. Now, moving forward, a few years later, when Gen AI came in and we had ChatGPT and all that, I did an additional integration so I could summarize things automatically and whatnot. So now the summaries that you see on the articles are automatically generated by AI. This has worked generally pretty well, 99.9% of the cases, but I won't claim there hasn't been a bit uh, glitch here and there.
Yeah, I do none of that. I just what do I do? I just copy and paste a link and write something silly and that's it. Low
I'll
effort.
happy to. I can share with you my software, auto newsletter software. But again, that's something. It's not something that I created from the beginning. It was like, hey, this time I'm gonna change this little thing, or now I'm gonna change this little thing. I think the main key was forcing myself to the habit of sending something every single week, no matter what happened. Whether it was a January 1st, whether it was I was on holidays, even if nothing happened in the industry that week, didn't matter. I would send it. Of course, that time that hit on a January 1st, I schedule it, and you can do these things. But every single week, you go on and publish something. I remember one where the week was pretty dull. Yeah, there were a couple of papers and something like that. So my summary was, look, guys, I don't think anything interesting happened this week. So off you go.
Yeah, I remember I had one light week and just rolled with it and yeah, it happens. Actually, that was the one where one of my kids was hospitalized, and I put the Quantum Dragon in a hospital, and I think everybody thought it was a joke. So I guess that's what happens when you joke all the time. But everybody's fine. That's the important thing. But yeah, that week I had maybe only like a
That's
couple of
important thing.
links, and that was from like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then it was kind of light. But then yeah, you got to have that discipline of, well, you can schedule it. Substack lets you schedule, so it'll go out
Yeah,
with whatever's in it, at least the next one, and then the following week have to be have to get something together again. But Substack's the
exactly.
first platform I've used that nobody's complained about yet. I used WordPress originally and got a lot of complaints about that. Got a lot of complaints about Medium. Used a bunch of different things, but Substack, uh, I guess to your credit from having used it for a while and liking it, I don't think I've had any complaints with that at all. You just subscribe, and if you don't like it, unsubscribe, and no
Yeah.
complaints.
And from time to time, I get people pledging money for the newsletter, which it happens automatically, I guess. So that's another point, right? Monetization of the newsletter. It's something that I never wanted to monetize. So I keep doing it again for myself, and it happens to be useful for several thousands of people. So that's fantastic. Um, but every week there's one, or every couple of weeks there's someone who pledges uh, $80 a year, or $100 a year, or $10 a month, pledging money for the newsletter. And and that's basically they're telling you I would be willing to pay for premium content or for additional content or maybe for the content in general. Um, and it's this kind of thing that if I click this button, I would start making money automatically. Not a lot, but making some money. And there's people who are in principle willing to pay for this. So that's interesting. Um, I don't think I will do that because I want to keep the content free, and because again I'm the first customer of my newsletter, and there are other ways to monetize this the community that you build and the expertise that you create and the sort of the informational service, the curation service that you provide to the community. But I don't know, the platform does all these things on your behalf, and not having to worry about how to send the actual test, how to manage the unsubscribes, how to just just write what you want to write and move on.
Yeah, amazingly, that was my next question about the possibility of monetization and what premium content would look like. But yeah, I'm with you on that. I can't imagine having, I mean, all of my books are free also, so I can't imagine subscription, anything. What would be
Mm.
special about it?
I,
Uh,
I I think
I don't know. I don't even have an idea.
it is a very valid business case, and some people are doing that successfully. Um, but for me, the newsletter has been already extremely useful by meeting people and creating community and getting business opportunities, and been meeting providers, partners, and so on. So I'm happy with that. Getting a few $100s a month is not going to move the needle too much. Of course, it's nice to you can use it for a nice dinner, a nice quantum dinner. But on the contrary, you would leave people outside. So is that one of the things I don't like about Medium is that you have this paywall after so many articles and whatnot. So I want to make sure that this content is open, free, available, and accessible, and that people can contribute. So sometimes a group of researchers from some university come and say, "Hey, we're not one of the big renowned universities in quantum, but we just publish this, and we think is important. Would you be willing to publish it?" And then it's a great paper, and say, "Absolutely. If I can help you amplify that message, um, I would love to do that." Or companies who don't have big PR presence and whatnot. So it's also I like to give also the megaphone to people to say, "Hey, we're doing this or we're doing that." Um, and at the same time, I'm not very keen on doing promoted content. So I've been reached out by companies sometimes and saying, "Hey, can I pay you some money?" And you put some promoted content or some banners and something. I always try to keep it true to myself, and just say, "No, I'm not going to do that." If I promote something, is because I use it or because I am attending a given conference or something like that, and that's about it.
Well, your list of thousands of links, that seems like something that could be premium content. That's not something you like normally publish. It's like all of the quantum pirates all wrapped up into one. So I'll plant that seed in your brain.
Hmm. That
And
could be, but a lot of that content is going to be outdated now. So is there a lot of
that's
people
true.
interested on what happened? I don't know when IBM released the Eagle processor. That was interesting back then, but probably not anymore now, right?
Yeah, I'd probably find that more interesting than most because of how often I look backwards in time for
Right.
something, researching something. So you're always finding links from a year, 2, 3 years ago, and whatever happened with that partnership, and whatever happened with this, and whatever happened with that. And I guess your average person probably doesn't do that though, or maybe not as frequently.
I'll, th I will think about that. Maybe there's an opportunity there for sure.
Yeah. Let's see. Moving on from Quantum Pirates, I have zero musical ability. I should have added that. So let's see. Second least qualified in quantum, first least qualified in podcasting, and first least talented musical ability. I just thought of that now. I'll have to edit that. But I can't say the same for you because you are literally one of the rock stars of quantum. So, except for the people out there who don't want to know, everyone else out there wants to know what's the story of Ion Maiden?
Right. So Iron Maiden is a an amazing and beautiful project. First of all, I'm not a professional musician. I'm just a hobbyist guitar player, and also some drum kits that I have here, and anything that makes noise. But yeah, I play guitar, and as it happens, the quantum industry has a pretty nice density of musicians. I don't know if it's because of the way it functions or what, but the point is there's a lot of people in the industry that are really, really good musicians, right? Um, so I remember there was one of the it was a quantum tech conference, um, and that I used to attend with some of our peers in the industry. And I think it was one of the London ones, the ones that they do at the Twickenham Stadium. And during the networking, they had this nice musician, a guy just playing guitar in the background, while the rest of us did networking and drank beer. Um, and I remember talking with our good friend Christopher Bishop, who's an amazing bassist. Like he is a true professional. And I'm just a hobbyist. He is an actual professional who has played bass for some of the most amazing musicians in history. And I remember thinking, well, we should tell them that next time we can play together, right? And we can play ourselves. And that was a joke, but then that joke evolved and evolved and evolved. And at some point, we talked with Lawrence and the team of Quantum Tech, great people, and I said, well, if you guys want, maybe we can put together a backline and we can rent some of the instruments for you. Maybe we can even rent for you a rehearsal place so that you do something and maybe instead of something random, we just put you guys playing for the band. Um, and I was all right, but that sounds like a nice challenge. And we started thinking about that. Uh, we started thinking about the name, and the Ion Maiden came out. Another option was Cubits of the Stone Age. John Barnes was a very good helper with the name. We got him as our honorary manager of the band. And then it was the first time, I think it was last year, at the DC conference of Quantum Tech, where we put the band together. And that was Drove, the drummer. That was Christopher Bishop, Peter Bordeaux, who's what a guitar player. I can learn a ton from him, and Marlowe at the keys, and obviously Christopher Bishop managing the whole thing as the bassist. We put together a set list that was nice and something to dance and some classic rock and roll and Rolling Stones, Beatles and whatnot. Um, we added a bit of a quick qubit blues, qubit quadri blues that we put together. And the first time we played together was just the day before of the conference at a nice rehearsal room in Washington, D.C. We played together for a couple of hours. There was an amazing click amongst all of us, and then we went and played, and people danced, and it was super fun, and it was amazing. So then we repeated in Twickenham a few months later, where we had new additions to the band, like Frank and other people, Eric as well. And then we added back in London, we did something that was pretty funny. We worked together with the guys from Moth. They're doing like you know them well, right? Quantum music, and then we hooked their little ring that could control the phase of the qubit to the synthesizer, and then we could play a jazz tune where while they were basically manipulating the qubit, and with the qubit they were changing basically the timbre and the tone of the music. So I could say we played with a quantum simulator together, and that was pretty fun. Um, so yeah, that's Ion Maiden, and it's a way of thinking differently about what we do, the conferences, and you know doing things that are fun and that create some legacy.
Yeah, I could have done research, but that would destroy my reputation. But are you aware that there are other Ion Maidens? I think, what is one, like a maybe like a video game or something, like another band? Do you have any opinion on
Yeah.
your others?
So apparently there's a video game called Iron Maiden, and they were sued by the actual Iron Maiden band for copyright infringement or something. So we thought about we thought about that can we get into trouble by using this name or something? But we thought, well, if by any chance we get famous, we will change the name. But
Okay, let's see. You've also got at least one book that I'm aware of, something about CTOs, and as a compliment to you, the Quantum Dragon keeps a copy of your book in his cave with all of his treasure. So, what sort of information is in your
much
book that would make it
appreciated.
seem so valuable?
So I think I mentioned at the beginning that my background is from engineering and from doing classical technology leadership. So I've been in leading technical companies or leading companies from the technology perspective in big data, artificial intelligence, classical software, from e-commerce all the way to big data, right? And my main skill was being the chief technical officer. And this is a very interesting role because if you ask any company, what is a CTO, you're going to have as many answers as companies out there. Everyone may have a pretty similar definition of what is a CEO or what does a CFO do. But a CTO, it can be anything from the technical co-founder that does the coding all the way to someone who represents a company of 20,000 people out there in the world in conferences, but doesn't know how to code anymore. So it's a little bit tricky. And then at the same time, uh, many CTOs get into the role coming from the engineering side. So let's say you are a software developer and then you start growing in the management ranks. But that is not a linear path growth. It's more like a horizontal change. Right? When you're doing software, you're developing software, you use parts of your brain that are more rational, deterministic, unless you do quantum computing. But when you become a manager, suddenly the problems are emotional with people. You're not dealing with code. No one teaches you how to do that. Like there are no MBAs for CTOs. Now there's a few of them popping up, but in general, there are not courses on, hey, you, Mr. Software Developer, here's how do you become a people manager. And here are the problems that you will face and the challenges. And here's how to get a seat at the table with other C-level executives so that they treat you as one like them and so on. So for the most part, many of us have to get there basically by trial and error, making tons of mistakes, getting good mentors and trying different things. And at some point I thought, well, what if the younger me could speak with the me today and say, hey, can you teach me what are the top 20 things that I need to consider in order to be a successful CTO. And that's how the concept of the book was created. Like, here is a collection of tools that I have been curating and working with over the years that help me um, succeed in some cases as a technical leader, regardless of the size of the company. So I set up to write this book. I liked it to I wanted to divide that into the different um, hats that a CTO would take, right? You need to manage the technology, you need to manage the product, you need to manage the executive, you need to manage the corporate development side of the company and finances and maybe selling the company at some point or buying other companies. You need to raise money so that you need to take care of yourself. So there are many different angles. And usually when we come from the technical side, the coding part, the technical part is the safe bet. So that's the part that we have under control. But I don't know, how do you lay off people because you're running out of money? No one teaches you how to do that. You have to do it once and go for it. How do you sell your company and deal with a technical due diligence process in a successful way? No one teaches how to you to do that. So I put together this book. I had a few guest authors as well who are more knowledgeable than me on their topics. And also wanted to say all the proceeds of the book go to two fantastic NGOs in Barcelona that use technology to make the world a better place. So that was also a way of supporting these people in these communities on this. Sort of through a brain dump of all these experiences and knowledge on how to be.
All right, so for those who noticed that you just got cut off mid-sentence, I'm demonstrating my unprofessionalism, so I'm glad that is sufficiently documented. But yeah, if you had more to say, I apologize, and I'll let you continue. We were talking about CTOs.
Well, it's also a little bit about dealing with the uncertainty, right? So your call may get cut and you just live with it and survive. But yeah, basically, I try to put all those things together in a book, publish that, and you can get the book either on my website on the piratecto.com, or you can find it on Amazon, the CTO Toolbox. Um, and even though it's a book that's mainly meant for technology, CTOs and technical leadership, in reality, it can be useful for any kind of manager, even quantum managers, right? Because a lot of those lessons are really transferable to any type of leadership. So, um, happy for any of you to get a copy of the book, and you will be helping an NGO called Microcode and another one called Teaming.net that are fantastic organizations full of great human beings.
Yeah, and I'll also link to it. So the page will have the audio file at the top. I'll have a link to Quantum Pirates. I'll have a link to your book. I'll have a. Is there anything to link to for Ion Maiden? Do you have a Facebook
No, I don't
page,
think
LinkedIn
so.
page?
No, we don't. If someone's interested, maybe you can find something on YouTube. And maybe there are some recordings out there. We did in London we decided to play a song in superposition because obviously we're a quantum band, right? Um, and a lot of the people got a little bit of foot with that. So we took "Smells Like Teen Spirit" by Nirvana, and then we took the Final Countdown by Europe, two classics. And as it happens, they use the same chord progression. So you can tweak the song a little bit, but you can sing "Smells Like Teen Spirit" on top of the Final Countdown. And it makes a nice medley effect. So I think the savvy of you will be able to find some of those recordings.
Yeah, yeah, those should be posted somewhere, at least YouTube or something like that. Let's see. I have one last question. Every time, and this is a very interesting one, every time I ask Copilot to draw something that has something to do with you, without even naming your name, it always manages to draw someone that kind of sort of looks like you. So why do you think that is? You know, like the
I
beard and
hope it.
everything, it's you-ish.
I don't know. It does know about me. So that there is something in the training materials that knows about me, and probably that comes because I've been posting online stuff in blogs or articles in the press and things like that, either from my previous jobs and whatnot. So I've had a relatively open and vocal public persona on the internet. So my best guess is that when these companies went through the internet to get content and train their models, there were some references to me, and they got with it. But as it happens, that there is a football player with my surname who plays to get just recently together with a football player with my name. So there's now apparently there's some stories between Sergio Ramos and Fernando Gago. And there's some issues in there. I can say that I am probably the least qualified person to talk about football, even for a Spaniard. So I know nothing about that. But all in all, my name is not extremely common. Sergio is common, but the combination of Sergio Gago is not that common. Um, so I guess they got training and they put it there. It's actually a nice thing to do. You can ask ChatGPT, roast me, and it's a really interesting experience to feel and to get an AI um, kicking you in the face.
Hmm. Yeah, I've never heard of anybody trying that before. Like what is it? Can you tell us one of your roast jokes? What is it said about
So
you?
it will get and it will say, but who do you think you are with the quantum pirate? You think you're cool with your long hair and your earring, and then you're getting into this quantum industry. You don't even have a bloody PhD, you poser. Uh,
Really?
yeah, that's me. That sounds pretty accurate.
That's awesome.
So
It's awful, but
it's a
awesome at
good
the
way
same time.
to um I don't know. I find very interesting to use these systems to obviously to learn new things and to now practice or code and whatnot, but also to sort of ping pong with them your ways of thinking. Like when you are considering something and maybe at that moment you don't have anyone to ponder it with or something. It's like, hey, look, I'm thinking about this, or I'm considering this strategy for this problem that I have. These are the options. Try to confront those options in a constructive way. And then sometimes it comes with things that you didn't think about. Like, oh, that's interesting, right? Um, and because it knows that some systems have memory based on the usage that you've had with them. So because it starts to know you, and you can go further and say, well, can you write something using my voice, my style? Um, and that's interesting because you can get a lot of automations done. And I don't know, one example is the AI podcast that I think both of us have started doing lately, right? And it's a little bit of a gimmick, but it's super fun. What I did when Google launched this Notebook LM tool was, well, what if I drop the full Quantum Pirates newsletter into this system, and then I asked them to create a podcast about everything that happened, and it is pretty good, with the exception that they are completely incapable of saying the word qubit. Is the
Yeah,
only thing that
I've
they
never
can
heard
do.
it sound good.
But other than that, is pretty good, right? And it is engaging. So now what I'm doing is once a month, I create this summary of the four newsletters of the month, and it gives you the 15 minutes rundown of the month. And it does get listeners, not as many as readers of the newsletter, but I don't know, maybe you're on the treadmill trying to do some exercise and burn calories and just listen to those two guys talking about Kitwits or however they call it. I think you have to
Yeah,
try everything that's out there.
yeah, they can be a little bit interesting because you can hear parts that sound kind of right, and then other parts are just wrong, or yeah, yeah, they're interesting because they also fake enthusiasm, like this is more exciting than it really is, but they're AI, so they can do that. I haven't
Yeah,
tried
exactly.
that, but I guess I could ask ChatGPT to try and write an article as if it was me. I think I'd
You can
like to
you
think it
can
would
do
be
that.
awful. I would
You,
hate
you
to think that it could actually do it though.
you can say it works pretty well. You can say, hey, look, this is an article written by me. These are the bullet points I want to write about now. Can you convert these bullet points in a full length article based on my the words I use, the writing style that I use, and so on. And it does a pretty good job. So for the non-native English speakers like myself, sometimes we have like very specific words or sentences that we overuse sometimes and whatnot. It gets those. It's amazing. And then you pass that over to one of those voice cloners, 11 Labs or the likes, and then it's basically you talking. It's fantastic.
What just happened? I am just trying to be as unprofessional as possible. Oh, the recording from the last bit is done, so things started popping up on my screen there. But yeah, I might have to give that a try. That's terrifying because I would like to think it can't copy my style. But then on the other hand, I've been toying with the idea of just pretending I've been an AI this whole time. Like I'm just an AI bot chatting with you now and doing like a whole thing based on that. But I guess I'll have to try the roast thing. I'm gonna have to try the roast thing. It's a free article.
Uh,
Less
that may not
mental
be that
work for me for one day.
it may not be that far away. Now companies are having challenges with doing job interviews for engineers remotely because you don't know if you're talking with the right person or with an avatar or with using these systems to fake their profiles. So I think we're not far at all from a reality where we all have an army of agents really whispering to us. Maybe it's through some smart glasses or smart watches or through VR devices. And these things can listen to us, can know about us, and I don't know. Maybe you're watching the news and you're saying, "Oh, look at what's going on in the stock market. Maybe it's a good moment to buy some stock of this company." And then your little Jiminy Cricket will pop up and say, "Hold on, I know something that you don't know yet. Let me tell you." And then you make the decision. So and that is a reality now that can happen right now. So it's pretty interesting times, and then of course there's the whole conversation on where does leave quantum, and you have all these people talking about quantum AI, and quantum LLMs, which is part of what we started talking at the beginning, right? How much is hype and how much is trying to piggyback on the generative AI success. And say the most famous sentence in quantum right now, which is we're waiting for the quantum ChatGPT moment. Um, so we'll see when that happens. Maybe tomorrow, maybe not.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, I'm gonna have to do some experimenting, and I guess I can credit you or blame you on each post.
Either
This
way,
all came from Mr. Gago, I'll call you. Have to be that's the only part where I'm formal. I'll do the Mr. there, but yeah, I'm making notes as you're talking here, and I'm gonna have to experiment and see what it can do. But I can't do too much though, because I'd hate for anybody to think that AI is writing any of the stuff that I write for real. So it would have to look noticeably off, but we'll see.
but that is back to your original question on writing a custom subscribe button label or writing something that is inherently you, right? If if what you're doing is you, it's the representation of you. Maybe I add a typo because I'm not a native English speaker, so I'm not a native English writer, and sometimes I use a word or two, and that's fine because that is you. That is the real persona that is going out there and sharing something in a very specific style. So it's your ethos, pathos, and logos, not just what you know, but how you share it and what's the aura or the halo that you bring. And I think that's the most important thing, right? Being true to yourself. Sure, use AI tools like I do for optimizing your work and making it more efficient, but keep it being you, because that's why people subscribe, like, create a community, and so on. And once you lose that, your community is gone.
It would actually probably work better for me since ChatGPT knows you, would be asking ChatGPT to give me suggestions based on based on you because my ideas tend to come from other people. So you say something like this whole conversation really, you're planting seeds in my head as the human you, but that would be an interesting twist to have fake Sergio. What writing ideas can I get out of what does it think you might suggest? And then but then I could run that by you. What do you think about ChatGPT thinking it's you? So
I
making
can definitely
suggestions from
evaluate
your
that.
standpoint. That would
I can
be
tell you that sounds like me, or maybe my wife can evaluate that.
yeah, probably. Well, some of what I do, since you mentioned your wife, some of what I do gets streamed through either my wife or my kids. Like I'll have a couple of dragons generated. Which dragon should I use? And I'll let my kids pick. So that'll come from them. But then the ideas for the content will come from. Oh, you've just given me so much. I've got them written in capitals all over my notes here. So you've given me like a good month or two of stuff to work with. So thank you for that in advance. But I'll give you the credit
Nice.
slash blame when I write it up. But if it's good, credit you. If it's not so good, well, blame you, I guess. I could also
That works.
possibly translate something into another language. Maybe I could pull off
Yep,
Spanish.
that works pretty well. It does sometimes the voice transcription, for example, do interesting things. So I tested some months ago one video from a conference that I gave somewhere, and that that conference was in English. From my accent when I speak English, it's pretty obvious that I am Spanish, right? You can think, oh, well, which part? But I'm not. I'm North American. I'm not British. I'm clearly Mediterranean-like, right? So I asked the system, can you dub and translate this whole thing into Spanish? So it was basically Sergio speaking in English audio, dub it into Spanish. And it was really funny because it dubbed it into Mexican Spanish. And it was the funniest thing ever. And sorry for my Mexican friends because it would have looked like I was mocking them, but I wasn't. It was the AI. Um, and there's nothing worse than getting something like that because then it looks like you are faking the accent and you get these type of things. So the same thing happens with written language. How do you make sure that that output is the right one? Well, by reviewing the content and analyzing and tweaking and making sure that it goes the way it should go.
Yeah, I can imagine. Not I don't have the ear for Spanish, but I know that there are like the pronunciation was probably different in Mexican Spanish versus Spanish Spanish. So in English, I can hear that, and I'll try and guess where somebody's from, either what country they're from or what part of the United States they're from. So I can imagine that'd be kind of weird that you're in your head, you must be speaking Spanish incorrectly just by mispronouncing the words.
Yeah, that's exactly
Like
right.
if I had a
And you think
southern accent or
there's something
something, it'd be
wrong.
weird.
Exactly.
But that'd be interesting. Oh, you could create your own meme of yourself. I'm way off topic here, but I'm thinking now of the Risitas memes where it's one thing in one language, but the subtitles are different. So you could have like your own meme of yourself speaking and then I don't know, maybe play it for your family and have not you AI use reading it back.
I'm honored to be considered like I could do a job as good as the Risitas, but I don't think I could ever even reach any point closer to that opera magna that the Spaniards provided the world many years ago. That is super old, by the way.
Yeah. Did I tell you that I met sort of a Filipino Risitas? I was
No,
buying eggs or something like that, and there was this guy drinking beer and laughing, and I heard the laugh and uncanny resemblance, just really weird, because I'm waiting for them to get the order ready, and I'm just hearing Risitas's laugh coming out of a drunken Filipino. Kind of weird.
maybe every country needs its own.
Yeah. And then I know somebody who has he's building a social media following. So you know how it's common, some people they have like fake laugh tracks and stuff like that. I don't know if he got it from me, but he started putting Receiptus, the laugh track, into his social media posts.
I could be, but it's now a fully a globalized meme, and that was partly thanks to you. So we'll get that going.
Let's see, I am so far off track. Let's see, questions. Am I out of questions? No, I think I introduced my last question before, so the floor is yours to say whatever you'd like. Yeah, we've gone all over the place here, but anything you'd like to add, floor is yours.
Well, these are the podcasts I like when you go all over the place, and hopefully the audience didn't get bored. But no, it was great being here. It's always great talking about all things quantum technology, music, and recetas. Um, and I think what we're doing collectively, right? All the people in this newsletter community and trying to work on quantum from a very realistic perspective and trying to make things to actually build the stuff, not just doing one element. It's super important. Um, and now is the year of quantum. A lot of people is talking about that. I think our work is more important than ever because there is much more noise for us to extract the signal from. So I appreciate the work that you do on the Quantum Dragon, and hopefully the audience likes the Quantum Pirate as well. It's still a tiny industry, especially if you compare that with other industries. But boy, aren't we loud? So
Yeah,
let's keep it loud.
I would imagine all of my subscribers probably subscribe to you as well. I would think. I don't know if there's a way to. I think Substack has like a tool that shows like the percentage, like what percentage of my subscribers also subscribe to Quantum Pirates. I think it's a fairly large percent.
It could be. It could be. We can definitely look into that. GDPR providing. So
Well, because you also came first, so you've been around a long time. So if anything, if I looked at the referrals, I'm benefiting far more from you than the other way around. I don't know if I can see that number also, but it shows.
it could be. But at the end of the day, the quantum industry is not that big. So it ends up being a little bit endogamic to some extent. There are not that many of us. In fact, an approximation is that if you were to think how many people work in the industry, in the private sector, not academia, how many people work full time in quantum, it's maybe around 5,000. So that's not that many. Um, and then you get all the enthusiasts and all these people. So, but once you get those 5,000, that's it. That's the audience, the audience that we share with you, with Brian Lenihan, with Bob Suter, with a few of the other people doing this. And well, the only thing I will say is that it's a pleasure to share the stage with you guys. Maybe that's a good point for the audience to say goodbye in a good note.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'll have a link to Quantum Pirates also because uh yeah, you because it's not just a curation of news that Quantum Pirates does, but you've got that commentary and well, you have Risitas, nothing can beat that, but then you've got the various commentaries which are always good to not just get a summary of what's going on, but you often add that little something in there that makes it interesting, which is kind of my shtick on trying to focus on the interesting part of it. But you've got that interesting part at the beginning. Did that sentence make sense? My mouth and my brain don't work at the same speed, so I have no idea. I'll just leave this as is. I'm not even going to edit anything out. It's just this is the brain on not enough coffee. A rum? No, it's a pirate ship. It's got to be rum. Should have been drunk
Let's get
first.
let's get either one. All right, Brian.
Damn.
It has been a pleasure being here.
I
And
have to give
hopefully
my
for
I have to give my ending spiel. So
yeah.
well I'll let you finish your closing thought. I'm being totally unprofessional here,
You
but
know,
go ahead.
I was just saying that thank you for having me here.
All right. And thank you very much for being on the show. And thanks to anyone who's still listening. I have in my notes, thanks to everyone who knows at this point. But as always, feel free to stick around for the outro music. It is not from Ion Maiden, unfortunately, but it is nonetheless worthy of your consideration. It's called Dungeons and Dragons. Enjoy.